Will the Auburn offense make significant changes coming out of the bye week? Let's discuss it on this edition of the Uptempo Podcast. Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Uptempo Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dustin Smith. Hugh Freeze took to the podium yesterday, and he was asked a lot of questions about what changes were made to the Auburn offense out of the bye week. We'll discuss all that coming up on this episode. Before we do, man, please do us a favor of liking the video, subbing to the channel if you have not done that yet. If you were listening on audio, whether it be Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, do us a favor of turning on your automatic downloads. Follow us over there and leave a 5-star review. Guys have been doing a great job. The show continues to grow. So Hugh Freeze goes to the podium on Monday morning, as he does every single week, to preview the upcoming game. This Saturday night, it will be the Georgia Bulldogs, Deep South oldest rivalry, baby, coming into Jordan-Hare Stadium. Cam Newton's jersey getting retired. It's going to be an electric atmosphere, at least to start out. But one of the main things that stood out to me from Hugh Freeze's press conference yesterday was he pounded home first and second down. He just said we've been bad on first and second down. And that was pretty obvious to anybody that was watching. Again, according to Nathan King over at 247 Sports, if Auburn would have spiked the ball on first and second down in their last two SEC games, the average distance on third down would have been shorter than what it was. That's bad. You would have had a better chance if you would have just spiked the ball on first and second down than what you were doing. So it doesn't get any worse. It can't get any worse than that. You're literally moving backwards. 3 for 28 on third downs in the last two SEC games. Not going to cut it, but you only get to that position because of how piss poor first and second down have been. And Hugh Freeze, and I will give him credit for this, he was critical of himself, as he often is, in saying that his play calling on first and second down has been terrible, and that the game plan on first and second down was bad. So they've had an entire week to self-scout that, and again, it was pretty obvious to anybody that was watching it, but at least he knows the issue, and now we'll see if he's going to address it, because you've heard Hugh Freeze, since he's been Auburn's head coach, talk about we've got to run the football. I got away from running the football. I should have ran the football more. It was very frustrating going back to Jarquez Hunter, and it's frustrating that it's still continuing to happen with Damari and Jeremiah Cobb. It appears from what he said that he recognizes the big part of the problems here. He said Auburn's not as good in pass protection. The offensive line is not as good in pass protection as they are in running the football. And the numbers bear that out. Auburn's actually top 10 in yards before contact on running plays. But you're just not calling running plays. The only running plays you're calling are on third and long. So the game plan on first and second down has to be much better. Auburn has to get back to running the football, to establishing the run. And in this matchup in particular, coming up versus Georgia, Auburn doesn't have to run for 4 or 5 yards a carry. You're going to have a lot of times versus Georgia where it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7. But it's much easier to live in that world, as Freeze says, than it is to live in the world of 3rd and 13. And 3rd and 13 consistently on the road in Oklahoma and in College Station is a death sentence. But it's still a death sentence at home versus Georgia. This isn't the vaunted Kirby Smart defenses that we're used to in the past from him, but they're still really good. They're still 5 stars all over the place over there. They're still going to show up and be physical and find a way to make plays. And you go back to that Tennessee game where Georgia gave up 41 points, but their defense found a way to make plays when they had to do it. And that's that Georgia culture. They just got that winning culture. They find ways to come out with a dub. And this Auburn offense has got an uphill battle, even though it's at home. And he was asked about the communication issues with Xavier Chaplin, and Hugh said, we've looked into it, and he's having a hard time hearing. Okay. It seems a little ridiculous to me that it took 3 road games for you to figure that out. You definitely should have probably started asking those questions after the Oklahoma game. But if the issue is identified, then what does this coaching staff that's getting paid millions of dollars to figure out these issues and fix them, what is the fix? He said that Tall Miller is going to crack the rotation and be part of the rotation on the offensive line. That's as far as he elaborated on it. What does that mean? I would imagine it means getting him some run for Xavier Chaplin. Do you move guys around? Does that mean that Too Tall just comes in at left tackle, or does that mean that he comes in at guard and you kick Wade out to left tackle? What does that all look like? He didn't really specify. I guess we'll find out Saturday. I hope it's not just one series is Xavier and one series is Too Tall and this real like clunky implementation of it. It'll probably be something like that because of what we've seen from this offensive coaching staff. Everything looks clunky and disorganized and goofy, but that's what Hugh says. He says that Too Tall will be part of the rotation, so we'll have to see what all that means on Saturday. I guess it's encouraging that they're at least looking at making changes. I mean, I'm going to stand on what I've been saying. I think a change should have been made at the offensive line coaching position. But look, they've had a bye week. They've had a bye week to batten down the hatches. They've had a bye week to self-scout and self-identify what the issues is. Hugh Freeze has said the play calling on first down and second down, bad. The pre-snap penalties on those first and second downs, bad. So you've identified those issues. What do you do to fix it moving forward? And that's what we're going to find out Saturday versus Georgia. He also was asked about Jackson Arnold holding on to the football too long. He said that Jackson's first read is good, his second read is pretty good, and then from there it drops off and it becomes what we've seen. I would push back a little bit, and I know Hugh has to be careful when he answers this. He can't throw his players under the bus. He can't throw Jackson under the bus. But the reality of it is there are times when Jackson's first read is wide open and he just doesn't throw the football. And even more so to his second read. And yeah, I would argue anything past his first read is a problem. I don't think he's making his second read very well. And I don't think he's making his first read very well. I'm just being honest. Like it's bad. It's just bad. He's got guys running wide open. He doesn't throw the football. I don't know how you can coach that out of somebody. I don't know how you speed somebody's internal clock up. I think despite all the tools that Jackson Arnold has, and I think even those are a little overrated. But ultimately, I just think the game moves too fast for him. I think the SEC game moves too fast for him, and I don't know if that's something that's going to be fixed. But Hugh said, well, I don't believe it's going to be fixed, just be honest. But Hugh said that Jackson Arnold is their guy, that they're rallying around him and that they're going to, they're sticking with him. So one way you can help Jackson Arnold out is by getting him out of 3rd and 13 every third down, by running the football efficiently on 1st and 2nd down, and also these long developing routes down the field. Let's get some quicker stuff for him and really pound home to Jackson. Hey, buddy, just hit that check down sometimes. And Cam Coleman doesn't have to be 30 yards down the field. Cam can run a 3-yard drag route. Just find ways to get him the ball. Do that with Malcolm Simmons. Some of these coverages, these soft coverages that Auburn's seeing, I think back particular to the 4th down disaster play versus Texas A&M. You could have just snapped the ball and thrown it like right there at the line of scrimmage and could have got that 1st down. The DB was on that particular play, the 4th and 1 to end the game versus Texas A&M. The DB or safety, whoever was on Brandon Frazier, he was 7 yards off of him, and Auburn needed a yard. You could have seriously just snapped the ball, thrown it to Frazier, and picked up the 1st down and stayed alive. So some of this stuff, you've had an entire bye week to address it. And I'm hoping that they implemented some of this stuff in the offense for Jackson to where, hey, buddy, if it's soft coverage, bang, just get it out quick. And maybe they close on it fast. Maybe it only gets 2 or 3 yards. But, man, 2nd and 7 is better than 2nd and 15. Hell, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 is better than 3rd and 15. You want to do a little bit better than that. You want to be in like 3rd and 4-ish, right? But still, something's got to change, and you got to coach around these issues that your quarterback is experiencing. And I want to see Auburn get back to running the football with Jackson Arnold. Get back to more of that Baylor game plan. And I know that what Dave Aranda did was crazy, and he just kind of gave it to you. But there's still opportunities for Auburn to establish the run that they're just not taking. And Hugh Freeze has said as such. He said it himself. So he's the head coach. He's the play caller. He's the guy in charge of the offense. It's time to change. It's time to change that. It's time to change that. It's time to turn around and hand the football off. And man, bring some of these routes in. You can't pass protect right now. You can't pass protect to let a post develop 30 yards down the field. So everything he said is correct. I know Hugh Freeze knows football, but he's also said for 2.5 years he was going to run the foot. He's going to get back to run the football. I mean, we've heard it time and time again. So the words ring hollow at this point. Got to see something different Saturday night in Jordan Hare Stadium. And I'll tell you all this: if the offense continues to look clunky, if it continues to look disorganized like it has, if it's a repeat performance of what it was a couple Saturdays ago in College Station, then I don't know how many more performances like that on the offensive side of the ball Hugh Freeze has left. I'm just going to be honest. If Auburn scores 7 to 10 points versus Georgia, it very well could be Hugh Freeze's last game at Auburn. And I'm not just saying that. That's a reality. So it's do or die time for Hugh Freeze in this offense. You've had a whole week. You've got all the weapons in the world. Hugh talked about the frustration that him and Ken Austin are experiencing and Derek Nix because they've never had this much trouble moving the football. And I believe him. And he's correct on that. His offenses have never been this bad. So I'm sure he's frustrated. And I hope that he really worked hard this week to get into the lab, figure out what the issues are. And if he is the coach to move forward with this Auburn program, if he's the guy that's going to bring this Auburn football program out of the darkness and into the light, then he's got to have the acumen and be capable and be able to fix some stuff in season. These issues that are the Auburn offense is experiencing with the talent that Auburn offense has, look, it might not be with Jackson Arnold and what you have at quarterback. You're limited. You missed again. But you could still have a productive offense. It doesn't have to be that. It can still be average. And that average offense, with the way that defense is played, will win you a lot of football games. If Hugh Freeze is the guy for Auburn football, the present and the future, then the time is right now to get this figured out because he's running out of it. Talked about Xavier Chaplin, the communication issues. You know, Jake Thornton, we're looking at you. Can you get some of this stuff cleaned up? This is your offensive line. This is a veteran group. They've got a ton of talent. Can you get this stuff cleaned up? Can you get these communication issues fixed? Noise shouldn't be a problem for Xavier Chaplin at home, but still, you're going to have to play more road games. You still got to go on the road. There's only 2 more, actually, right? Vanderbilt and Arkansas. But still, Chaplin hasn't been great regardless. Do you get those communication issues fixed? This is too veteran of a group. You've had an entire week to figure out, okay, why is he not getting the snap count? Why is he not hearing well? Hopefully there's some kind of solution. There has to be. So, big game, big opportunity this Saturday night. You know, as frustrated as the Auburn fans are, and I see it in my comments, I see it in my social media, I got a lot of DMs of people saying, man, I'm just about to give up on Auburn. Now, I don't encourage that. I'll never give up on loving my Auburn Tigers. Now, if you're going to give up on this coaching staff and you don't believe in them anymore, I understand. And I'm with you. Okay? But all the frustration that is out there is valid. Auburn fans deserve better. You deserve more than 4 losing seasons in a row. This year could turn into 5 if it doesn't get fixed. Despite all of that, Saturday night, Jordan Hare Stadium will be electric. It'll be on fire. Auburn fans can separate, right? And what I mean by that is you can be upset with the current head coach, and you can think that he is not the guy to move Auburn forward. But you can also have that thought process in your head and believe that, but still show up on Saturday and give it everything you got. And I fully expect that to be the case, at least to start the game. If we get into the third quarter and Auburn's struggling to pick up first downs and they're down 17-3 or something like that, and it just looks atrocious, boo birds are going to come out. The frustration's going to boil over. But if it's a close football game and Auburn's in the game, then Auburn fans, despite all their frustrations, will give the team everything they have because they always will. And just because you show up and cheer for the team, that doesn't mean that you're co-signing everything that's going on. You're just being a good fan. And Auburn has some of the best fans in the world. So I fully expect it to be a crazy atmosphere Saturday night. Despite all the frustrations that have gone on all week, Auburn fans will show up for their football team. They will show up for these players, and they will cheer their ass off. I have no doubt about that. It's up to this coaching staff to put together a competent game plan, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, and score some points and move the football. You spent tens of millions of dollars on scoreboards you don't put points on. It's time for that to change. Also, if it's a close football game, it's time for you to slay the close game dragon. It's time to put that monster to bed. So if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, 21-21, something like that, don't find a way to lose this football game. You got to find a way to get over the hump. And there's a crowd of people that keep saying we're close. You know what Hugh Freeze said yesterday? He said people don't want to hear about how close we are anymore, and I acknowledge that. And he's 100% right. The time for close is over. There's no win, loss, moral victory column. There's wins and there's losses. And they keep score for a reason. And you want to be the team with more points. And I know that sounds elementary, but you would be surprised at the people that don't understand that's why they're playing the game. The point is to win the football game. Hugh Freeze understands that, and he knows that his seat is red hot. He knows that it is time right now to get this thing turned around, or he's running out of time. I don't know how many more losses he's going to be allowed. And if it's a pathetic offensive performance, it very well might be his last. So we're going to see. Real quick, I want to get into this. The Auburn-Baylor game for next year moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, Auburn traveled to Baylor, to Waco, played at Baylor's home stadium to open up the season this season. The plan was for it to be a home and home. Auburn goes to Baylor, then Baylor comes up to Auburn next year. John Cohen has decided no on that. In the press release, Auburn and John Cohen, I watched a video of him talking about this. The ticket sales and some other stuff from the game was going to go into Auburn's NIL fund. I don't know the particulars of how this will work, so I'm just going to say it's going to NIL. I don't know if it's going to future spending of NIL to the current players on the roster, however, but it's going to NIL, and that's kind of the selling point that the administration and John Cohen are trying to put forth. Is that it's the money's going towards the student athletes in the NIL. The overwhelming thought process, at least in our up-tempo member group chat, is everyone hated it. I don't think anybody was happy with it. Everybody hated it. And from what I've seen online, the majority of Auburn fans hate it. I do see the side of the NIL and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not like going in on John Cohen for that. I get it. But ultimately, one, I think you're not reading the room. You're not understanding how frustrated this Auburn football fan base is with the football program. There really seems to be a lack of understanding from the administration and from the current athletic director when it comes to that. They're just tone deaf at a lot of stuff that they do and say and post. I don't. There's a disconnect between how pissed off the fans are and how some people at the university are, like Bruce Pearl's tweet, for example. And I know that he's like what, an ambassador now or whatever. Like, what role does he really have? But that's just a good example of how out of touch I think some of the people that are, what's the saying? They're like they're in the forest, right? They can't see the trees because they're inside of it. Um, so I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of any college game regular season being played at a neutral site. Bowl games, playoff games, absolutely. But when you look at Auburn's schedule next year, Auburn already has a lot of road games. Auburn already had, now that the SEC is moving to the 9-game conference schedule, Auburn already had 5 conference games on the road and 4 conference games at home. So every other year it'll be unbalanced. The next year, Auburn will have 5 games at home, SEC games at home, and then 4 on the road. And it'll alternate every other year. But the first year of this 9-game conference schedule, Auburn's with 4 home games and 5 on the road. It's a weird year to take away a home game. Honestly, you're already going to Tennessee, to Ole Miss, to Mississippi State, to Alabama, and to Georgia. That's tough. And now you're taking away a home game and putting it in Atlanta. And I know Atlanta's close to Auburn. I know the crowd will be pro-Auburn. That's still not Jordan-Hare Stadium. You only get 6 to 8 opportunities every year. It's really around 7 usually to go into Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn advertises Jordan-Hare Stadium as this big attraction. This is our atmosphere. Come play in front of these fans. All of the local businesses, restaurants, shops, go on and on and on, that depend on that home game in Auburn. Atlanta doesn't need that. But at the end of the day, it's all about money, guys. It's all about money. And in terms of I'm just zooming out from the Auburn perspective real quick. You want to know what's wrong and why all these changes are happening in college football? Because they don't care about you. They don't care about you. John Cohen just made it abundantly clear. He does not care about the Auburn fans. He cares about the money. He cares about putting the money in the NIL for the system. And look, I get it. You need NIL to compete, okay? But you're not reading the room. You don't know the mood of this fan base, apparently. This was not the week to announce you were taking a home game away. And you shouldn't have done it anyway. Just to be honest, you shouldn't have done it anyway. Baylor fans are upset. They wanted to come to Jordan-Hare Stadium. They don't want to go to a pro stadium, not for the college game. They don't. Auburn fans got to go to their stadium. They were excited to come to a historic venue in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And you've taken that away from them. It's the bigger issue plaguing college football right now is these athletic directors, not just Auburn's, all of them, or at least the majority of them, and the people in charge, the people in those positions, don't care about you. They don't care about what the fan wants. That's why rivalries like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State go away. Money. They don't care about what the fans want. That's why Cal and Stanford are in the ACC right now, playing on the Pacific West Coast. They're in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and they're not playing their rivals that they played for 100 years like USC and UCLA because of money. These people couldn't care less about you or what you want. Your loyalty means nothing to them. They're squeezing the system dry. They're squeezing it dry, and they're killing the sport, and they're going to continue to kill the sport. I hate it. I hate it for Auburn fans. I hate it for Baylor fans. It's not just going on at Auburn. It will continue to go on all across the country because these people see dollar signs and they see nothing else. So it sucks. The sport is it's fundamentally changed in the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't think anybody likes the direction that it's gone. But this is where we're at. So thank you guys for watching. Please like the video, sub to the channel. For my members, we will have the member popping for you guys tomorrow, our midweek thoughts. So stay on the lookout for that. I'll expand on the moving of the game to Atlanta and got a couple other things I want to share with you guys, and I want to get your thoughts in. So members, be on the lookout for that tomorrow. Our preview show will drop later in the week, and we will have the member show Saturday morning for you guys. So tons of content coming out on the Uptempo podcast this week. Deep South's oldest rivalry. Hey, look, there's a lot going on at Auburn right now, but we still hate Georgia, and that ain't never going to change. It's War Damn Eagle. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out.